Birds, people, and the dogs that bring them together. This is episode number 41. My name is Bill, and you're tied to the Woe Post. Well, I finished out the series of the 31 versatile pointing breeds, and by popular demand, we're starting a series on flushing dogs. I've had a bunch of folks ask about springers, cockers, and even a few clumbers, so I'm going to give it a shot. I plan to cover 9 Flushing Spaniel breeds, and I think I can get 8 Retriever breeds. I'm anticipating having some trouble with the Niederländische Keukerhondje, and probably about as much trouble as I have pronouncing it. So if anyone knows of a good guest for that breed, feel free to contact me on Facebook or Instagram at The Woe Post or through email at bill@thewoepost.com. Before we kick it off with our first of the flushers, I'd like to shout out my patrons who voluntarily support the podcast by making a small monthly pledge at patreon.com/thewoepost. If you'd like to support as well, head over and become a patron, and you'll have access to a growing library of exclusive content. The first flusher in the chute is going to be the English Cocker Spaniel, or Field-bred Cocker Spaniel, or English Field-bred Cocker Spaniel, or Field-bred English Cocker Spaniel, or whatever we're going to call them. They're described as a merry dog or a hunter's helper. You're not likely to find an angry cocker. Developed like all spaniels from Spanish stock, early spaniel lovers separated the dogs into 2 types, water spaniels and land spaniels. Amongst the land spaniels are the larger Springer and Field spaniels, and the smaller spaniels originally enlisted to hunt woodcock, hence the name cocking spaniel, which would later be changed to cocker spaniel. The 3 types were formalized into breeds in the 19th century. After import to the U.S., Americans became so enamored with the dogs that they began to breed for size, coat, and cooperative temperament rather than the originally intended function, and therefore developed the American Cocker Spaniel, or just Cocker Spaniel, while hunters preferred and maintained the English Cocker Spaniel. English Cocker Spaniels have a medium-length, silky coat that can be almost any color. In fact, there are 21 acceptable breed standard colors. They're a compact dog standing between 15 and 17 inches and are known for their dark, piercing eyes that almost never break contact from their handler unless they're in the act of searching, flushing, or retrieving. Today I'm talking field-bred English Cocker Spaniels with Jessica Cannon of Dirt Road Dog Company in Climax, Georgia. Jessica, thanks for being on the show.
Absolutely. Glad to be here.
I'm glad you are. So you're the first in the chute for the flushing/retrieving dogs. So everyone behind you will have big shoes to fill.
Yeah, I'm in the hot seat.
But we wanted to start with Cocker Spaniels because I figured there's a flusher that every bird dog person at least knows a little bit about.
Yeah, for sure.
Can you go ahead and introduce yourself?
I'm Jessica Cannon. We've been doing this business for about 17 years. We live in Climax, Georgia, right outside of Bainbridge, about 35 minutes from Tallahassee, Florida. Everyone is always like, where in the world is that? Quail country down here, plantation life. Got 3 children, husband, been married for 27 years, and we do this business together, do life together, and it gets crazy and we love it, but it's just what we do.
And you guys are breeding, training, and guiding full time between you and your husband and your daughter, right?
Yes. So Morgan came on with us about a year ago, and she's been a big help to the program, which has grown so much. So I just really needed the help. Yeah. So we breed, train, raise, crazy town all the time around here, puppies inside, all the good stuff. And then Derry, my husband, he guides 6 months out of the year. He's actually made a change this year. He'll be at Covey Rise Plantation. So he'll be starting his first year there. He's been guiding for about 15 years now, though.
That's exciting. I mean, Covey Rise is a pretty big name down south.
Yeah.
So you'll have no shortness of quail.
No, for sure.
So how did the bird dogs get into your life? Did Derry bring them in, or did you guys start together, or did you bring them in? Or
we started together, naturally being in the South, we both have always grown up hunting all the things. I would say my family did more quail hunting, bird hunting, growing up. My granddaddy, my dad, my granddaddy always had, pointers back then around the house, that kind of thing. Um, we actually, my husband is a dry cleaner by trade. His family he grew up in the dry cleaning business. So we did a change. Gosh, it's been 18, almost 18 years ago. Um, and he, stepped away from there, and we wound up managing a place for a local guy from Tallahassee, which was actually my family farm that they sold to him, and he just fell in love with the property. He didn't buy it to hunt on. He wasn't a hunter, but fell in love with the property, and we wound up managing it and went into a plantation style, quail operation, that kind of thing, and got into the bird dogs. Derry naturally had deer hunted his whole life and didn't know a thing about training a dog. So it was kind of a new adventure. And he reached into a bunch of older gentlemen that we knew. Around here, you turn every corner, you can find someone that's got a string of dogs. And we got into it that way and came across these flushing dogs. And as it progressed, knew that naturally I didn't want him on the front line getting shot hunting quail, because that's a big deal, and it's a big reason why the flushers are now so popular. Your guide is not stepping in and flushing the birds. That's what the cockers are used for. So knew we needed to find a dog, and we got in touch with an amazing guy who has since passed on, Christopher, and we got our first dog, Rock, and just fell in love with him. And our kids were, growing up. My middle daughter took to him tremendously, and just he was so easy to train, just the best house dog, but just the best bird dog. I mean, just very hard. That first one, your first one's always special, and very hard to follow suit with that. But we just fell in love with the breed. Christopher was a great mentor to me. He fell in love with us. We just had a great friendship. And he guided me through. He wanted me to be successful. He loved the breed a lot, and he knew that we really could take it and do something great with it. And so he guided us through the process, and through the process of growing our kennel.
Was there any family consternation going from all those pointing dogs as you were growing up, and your side of the family having pointers to breaking the mold and going over to the flusher side?
No, because I mean, they had them, and like it was more my granddaddy. He had them back in the day, and my dad. We didn't. We had Springer Spaniels. We had a couple of them growing up. My
Oh,
dad
okay.
Yeah, my dad hunted ducks and would go to Maryland a lot. That was their big thing back when I was a little girl. And so the Springers were more just the, retrieving dogs back then. And looking back now, we had a little female that was what you would say is that small cocker. And you know, because that's really where they stem from. So a lot of that. But no, they're always just proud of, our parents are all proud of what we do and how we've grown everything. So it's excited them every step of the way.
When you were originally looking for dogs, was it the mentor, the breeder and the mentor that attracted you to the breed, or was it the breed itself, or maybe some sort of a combination?
I want to say one of the guys that Derry reached out to sort of mentor him in the pointing end, he had a cocker. And he was like, listen, if you're going to do this, you need to get one of these dogs. And that was, gosh, I mean, 17 years ago. And it was one of those things that you talk through it. Okay, who do I go to? Who That's more of a hearsay thing, because back
Hmm.
then there weren't breeders around every corner, or people breeding the breed. And Christopher was just very well known. He had a website, Key. Had a great reputation. He was a Greek Spitfire. Um, I'm a Spitfire, and we just gelled. Talked to him, and he was like, I know exactly what you need. I've got the dog for you, and just his little raspy voice, and so we met him and just went from there. There wasn't really anything that we specifically were looking for because it was a territory that we weren't really familiar with, you know. And so, yes, on our phone call with him, he had a ton of information, and to me, that's really what grounded me for what I do. I feel like I molded myself from the way that he treated us the first time that we talked. He always was open. If I called him and had a question, he would always answer my questions. And so I think that's kind of set the tone for the way that we built our business. And we're just here for our clients, and it's a big deal.
In this business, you just can't put a price tag on a quality mentor like that.
No, you can't. You can't. And it's super important to us to steward this breed correctly, and to mentor people that are looking for the perfect dog, whether it be for home only or super active. Our dogs do all kind of stuff. Um, so it's one of those things that is super important to us to build a relationship with our clients, and to make them feel like they're what they're searching for in a perfect pup is important to us as well. If you call me looking for a dog, I'm going to ask you what your goal is. That's my first question. What is your goal for a dog? And it's very important to us to be able to match that personality of a puppy to that person or that family. And we do it very well. We're really good at it. We've worked hard at that. We know our dogs. We know our puppies. We don't usually let people pick puppies. It's gotten longer and longer, really and truly, because the more that we wait a little bit longer, the more success we feel like we have with our clients matching that perfect pup. And we get it wrong sometimes. We're not perfect. Every now and then you'll match the wrong, that you'll have one out of 20 that are you just have no off switch, and it happens, and you move on and you figure out what to do. So,
I wonder a lot too how often that's really the dog and how much it is the puppy buyer telling you things that they want you to hear, but what's not necessarily always accurate.
yeah, I think it's important for from a breeder per se, to educate a puppy buyer on what exactly this breed is, and what to expect. And we can ask certain questions and I can know whether they've done their homework. And so I feel like in that instance, it allows us to have a good feel for, okay, you have to know what to expect when you bring this dog home. I'm not going to send a dog home and say, you're going to get roses from this dog. You're going to have a puppy that's going to challenge you, that is going to use your sofa as a romper room if you don't get control of it,
It's going
and
to be a puppy.
it's going to be a puppy. And you can allow it to do that, or you can do the tools that we send you home with and the advice that we give you and the instruction, and wind up having a great dog, that's obedient, because it's all about obedience at the end of the day. And with that, circling back, if an owner is not doing their job, if they're not taking the time, and we stress it 5-10 minutes a day, twice a day, with formal instruction, and then all the other times are just like children. We reference it to children a lot. It's all about being consistent and taking that 30 seconds to use that as a training tool. when you realize they're sitting beside you while you're washing dishes and they're sitting there watching you. That's a training tool right there.
Sure thing. Great
You know,
time to praise. And
absolutely.
if you've got a treat, then that works too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We have pockets full of dog food around here all the time, when we have puppies inside. So
And your hands probably always smell like training treats, right?
we actually don't use training treats. We use their food.
Do you? I see. I go back and forth on that. I'm not consistent on that part at all.
Yeah.
There are times where I'll go through, for weeks, I'll go through bags and bags of the little small training treats, and they're always soft and they're
Yep.
always in my pockets, which means my pockets always smell like some
And you're
sort of not, it's not sausage, it's not bacon, but it's something in the middle, right?
right. I'm a big advocate for the diet. I think their diet is super important. I think it is what makes a dog successful when they go home. You take a dog home and you start feeding it treats, you're going to call me and you're going to tell me this dog's got diarrhea, there's something wrong with it, that kind of thing. That's not the case. You're feeding an infant, um, a steak dinner. It
Right.
doesn't work. It doesn't work. And most cockers are food motivated. And so, we feed a Nook Shook and we love it and been feeding it for about 3 years now. And it's not an oily food. You can put it in your pocket and the kibble is small. So it's just a great way to continue to feed your dog and to know that we're not messing up that system.
That's the second time they've gotten a free mention on this show. They need to start paying up pretty soon.
I know it. We love it. We love the food. We do.
So what was it about then Cocker Spaniels that really, I mean, you had your first dog, everybody falls in love with their first dog,
Yeah.
but if you're a serious hunter or you're guiding or whatever, it's not just that first dog and that dog's temperament, personality, and the connection and everything. There's more to that business decision in a lot of ways to
Yeah.
stick with that breed. So what was that conversation like, I guess?
So I would say it's like having when you're a guide and when you're a dog trainer and when you're a hunter, you have a toolkit basically. You've got your pointers, you've got your gun, you've got everything you need, your ammo, everything. And that cocker just adds that nice tool to your kit because number one, you've got a very versatile dog in a huge sense. You've got a dog that can be trained to stay at heel if you want it to. You've got a dog that you can let go 20 to 30 feet out of you and put their nose to the ground and work. And on those hot days like we have in South Georgia, um, you depend on their nose a lot of times, their body language. The birds are there. The pointers miss the birds. They've run over the birds, and you call that cocker back. You sit it down, and you let the pointers circle back and point those birds. And so it's a dual purpose, in a lot of ways, because their nose is so good. Almost in a tracking, like a tracking dog type scenario. You can train them to do anything. And I think that's why they have become such great, dogs to these guides because they know at the end of the day, um, if it gets hot, if the birds are wet, whatever, you can send that dog in and you're gonna get a great flush. You're gonna number one, safety. You're gonna send a dog in and you're gonna have birds come up and you're not in the line of fire. There's just a whole lot of factors. There's just, a ton of things I could think of, but having that dog that you can keep moving, like Slate, for instance, he Derry can take him out. You've got a covey gets up, 3, 4 birds down. He can send him out. And the guy's like, hey, we got one down over here. Well, Slate's already brought two of them back, and he's already gone to get this one. They're moving on to the next point. You've got another dog over here on point. Slate's going to get the birds without even, not missing a beat, basically. He knows his job. And I think that's the beauty of it is this dog knows its job. They are so dependent on you. I think that's where a lot of people um, almost mess a dog up with an English Cocker is they don't realize that they just want direction from you. And so when you're training and when that dog is learning you and you are learning that dog, um, they want direction. And if you don't know how to give correct direction for that dog, then you're not going to be successful. They're not, they have a soul, you know, they're definitely different. Not that pointers, English pointers or something like that don't have a soul, but they are a whole different machine. That cocker lives for the day that it goes and gets that bird and it can bring it back to you and get all the praise and all the love in the world. It's just they are so driven for it and they just absolutely love it. It's just they're passionate about it and you can just tell when they're doing it.
I was having a similar conversation with somebody the other day, and you know, dogs, sporting dogs, but in particular, certain breeds, and we can talk cockers and we can talk labs, really have been bred to just be so cooperative with their owners and with their handlers, and that's why they've become the super popular pets.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, in some cases, may have ruined some aspects of, or maybe some lines within a breed. And that's why we end up with these show lines or these pets that will never end, lab pets that will never even think about going in the water, which would blows everybody's mind, but it exists, right? It's a real thing. Or an American Cocker Spaniel that looks absolutely nothing like a field
Right.
bred English Cocker, right? And
Yeah,
probably couldn't, I mean, any dog will hunt, but probably not going to hunt like their field bred cousins.
correct. Correct.
Have you found a pretty consistent temperament across, the cockers that you've owned and you've looked at, and then that you bred, or are they all going to be pretty much those very cliche ubiquitous cocker spaniel that just looks through you with their eyes until you tell them what to do, and then they just like a little fur missile, they're off doing it?
I'm gonna say that they're all the same, but they're all different. There's a lot of emphasis put on lines, bloodlines, this and that. We all know you can have the best bloodline in the world and not have the best dog in the world, you know. That's why I think it is so important to know the dogs. And yes, I would say 90% of them are gonna hone into you. They're gonna look at you. They're gonna want all the direction in the world from you. And then you're gonna have that 10% that have so much drive that you have to be very good at what you do to be able to harness that dog. And a lot of times that gets misconstrued as a dog that won't hunt. Um, but it is a dog that is actually one that is looking for so much direction because it's gotten so much fire bred into it that it doesn't know how to control itself, if that makes sense. So you have to be a good handler to be able to control that, to be able to be successful with that dog because they'll blow themselves out. And so I think that is a very big thing with knowing a dog's eyes, knowing when you can look in that dog's face and say, okay, this one's going to be my Flint that shows up at 12 weeks old from over the pond and hits my sofa and clears my desk. 4 years later, he was a huge lesson for us. Rock was our first male, and Flint was the next one, and he was completely different. So you have to understand that. You have to understand, as someone that, I mean, we have 21 cockers. So I can take any of them out and they're all going to be different. So you have to understand each dog, I think, for its own. But in the breeding aspect of it too, we work really hard to breed for a great I call it a great on off. Um, it doesn't always work. You're gonna have that dog that has an on, but it might not be an annoying on. It might just be they're just busy a lot. You want that dog to be able to look into your soul, and you want to be able to look in that dog's soul, but you've got to know that, and you've got to have a good support system. I think that is the key, because when a dog goes home to someone and they are working with their dog as a first time English Cocker Spaniel owner, and they call me 6 months later, everything's going great. They call me, okay, Jessica, this dog is doing this, this, and this. And I'm like, okay, let's back up. It's hit that 6 month old stage where it, basically gives you the finger, is what I call it. And they don't, and if you don't know how to harness that, you can get very frustrated very fast. And that's what I think helps us be successful, because we can be there for our clients in that aspect as well.
Have you guys had the dog that, at coming between 6 and 8 weeks old, when you're looking at pairing that dog and kind of looked at it and said, this dog just might be too much for some people, but
Yeah,
the good thing, I mean, you guys have the perfect out in that, you get that dog that might be too much for somebody else might be perfect for you guys, for dairy, to get out there on quail, 2 out of 3 days during the preserve and plantation season, right?
absolutely. Yeah, I actually just had that happen. Um, this past litter I had a pup that was supposed to go to Colorado, and they were not going to hunt. Super active family, just very active, hiking, all of that good stuff, and if we have a dog that isn't going to hunt, we make sure they're a super active family and they understand what they're getting. But we had recommended one for her, and she'd picked it out. And the more we got to dealing with the pup and realizing, hey, this dog has got so much bird drive and just a lot to go. And I had another one that we thought was the more driven one. And so I called her and I'm like, listen, I'm I'm very conflicted here. This is what I feel like. And she was just super appreciative. We did the dog swap. We flipped them, and puppy went home. And I mean, he's been great. And that as a breeder, I think is super important to know when to make that call, and when to say, hey, look, this is not the dog for you. This is the dog for you. And as clients, you have to trust us. You've got to trust. And that's why it's important for when you are picking out a puppy. I think it's important to know who you're dealing with. And if they're not, if you call someone and they're not willing to really go over all of that kind of stuff with you and listen to what you're wanting, then that might not be the right that might not be the right breeder for you.
And from the breeder's perspective, might not be the right customer. And
Yeah.
sometimes, that can be hard if if that litter is not sold,
Yeah.
and, you're looking at, potentially keeping a puppy past, 8, 9, 10 weeks,
Yeah.
sometimes it's just that decision is the best decision, not just for the puppy buyer, but for the puppy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because like I said, again, it can be very frustrating, and we want all of our dogs to be successful, no matter what home they go to. And we want our clients to be successful with their dog, in whatever aspect they wind up doing, whether it be hunting or dog diving or scent work, diabetic training, all kind of things. And it's just super, super important to be able to place that right pup with the right family. And we get it wrong sometimes.
It happens, but I bet you get it right more often than you get it wrong.
We do. We do.
I've got my about 5.5 month old female right now who's starting to bring me, well, not starting, this has been going on for a few weeks now, but she's bringing me socks, and this is her job right now, and she's convinced. And fortunately, I mean, this is far from my first dog, so I you come to expect it, especially with a dog that's pretty strong retrieve drive, like small Munsterlanders are and Cockers are. And from both perspectives, actually,
Yes.
I'm fortunate in that any issues that I do have, I can make that phone call to the breeder where I get my dogs from, and I can just say, "Hey, Michelle, you got to talk me through this,"
Right. Yeah.
and more often than not, it's this is exactly what you need. This is exactly what you asked for. You need to work through it, and here's how we're gonna get. Um, so I don't claim to be a professional trainer, never have, and I doubt that I ever will. But my dogs teach me more and more every day. That's for sure.
That's right. And if you're not willing to learn and learn from another trainer or another person that's in this dog world, then I'm going to call you a terrible trainer.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've got to be willing to say, "Hey, I need help with this one." I mean, even as I mean, I wouldn't call us. I don't even like the word professional. I we're just we just love the breed and we love the dogs, and I think in the training aspect, um, sometimes it can just be overthought a lot too. Sometimes it's kind of like keep it simple, stupid. It can stay so simple and you be very successful.
Sure. Now, you said you have 21 Cocker Spaniels.
Yeah.
Are these all your dogs, or are some of these puppies waiting to go out? Or
No, those are all, I actually added them all up. Yeah, so we have 20, because everyone always asks us how many dogs. So how many dogs do you have at the house right now? So yeah, so we have 21 cockers that are ours. And just kept I've got two pups that I've kept from my Cinder and Sunny litter, just this last litter. And then we've got four small Munsterlanders, and we have three setters. So, and 13 puppies right now. So, yeah. But the 21 cockers are ours. They stay here, live here, hunt with Derry. He'll take four to five with him when he hunts. It's hot here.
yeah,
We're in Georgia. It's 85 degrees today. So he likes to be able to put a new dog on the ground every swap out. And that's a plus for us, because we don't blow our dogs out. It keeps them healthier. Rock was he was the only one for a while, and we managed that plantation, grew it for 12 years, and he picked up a lot of birds in his lifetime, and he was a heck of a dog for as many as he picked up. So
I I bet I bet he was the happiest dog in Georgia with that whole
he was.
plantation to himself.
He was very happy. He was
21 Cocker Spaniels is a whole lot of energy.
a lot.
So how do you guys manage that?
We got runs. We've got a huge field. We moved to this property about, I think this is going on our fourth year. And the front area, then when you come in, if you ever come here, you'll see it's two big fields. And so we fenced in a whole field, um, more for safety than anything. We can just let them out there and let them run their hearts out. We walk, we'll go on walks. But we like to let them out in the run pens, as much as possible. And then naturally during quail season, they get on their rotation and they hunt. So it can be a lot though.
I bet it can. You'd think, okay, smaller dog, they don't need a ton of space, and oh, they'll settle down pretty quick. But I mean, those cockers, they can go, and that's what they're bred to do, right?
They
They're bred to keep up with the bigger dogs, and it save, but maybe some really challenging vegetation and stuff like that. They'll do it.
Yeah, they will. We've got one, Maggie. We were talking about her the other night. She will blow through briars. She doesn't care. She is so driven. It doesn't matter to her. She'll come out, blood all over her face. Just
Hmm.
she's such a go dog. But then she comes inside. She likes being inside. She likes it when she's had her little litter of puppies and she's in here with us, and we try to rotate them, because I mean, naturally you can't have 21 dogs inside.
No,
Um, try to rotate, give them a couple, rotate one and have them inside, a week at the time, that kind of thing. so that they do get their inside time, and
Mhm.
the males sometimes are a little bit harder with that, because, we have some of them are because you're in a big kennel breeding area. It's a little more dominance than others. But and then you just have some dogs that just want to be in the kennel. They
Yeah.
just like, you know, and that's all about knowing your dog, I think. Makes a big difference.
And how are they getting along with the four small Munsterlanders?
They all get along great.
Yeah.
Zeta is the queen of the castle. She is the boss. When Rock passed away, she took on that role, and so she puts everybody in their place. That she gets to ride the buggy every day, and so she's, if you can get along with Zeta, then you can stay here. And got little Paco inside now. He's one that we kept off of this last litter, and I mean, he was sitting on top of her last night, chewing on his toy. So they have made friends, and she's, in a motherly role, it's a good thing because you have that dog, even though she's a small Munsterlander, she's, she can express that dominance over a puppy and keep it in line, just like back in the olden days. You take a litter of puppies out and they just follow the mama and learn how to hunt a lot of
Right.
time, you know. And so we kind of take that aspect of, we let her be the boss and we let her teach them, and I use her a lot for my recall. I'll take her out and we'll go walk with the younger crew, and we, or if I have a puppy here, if we have a dog here training, I'll take her, or Derry will take her and we'll recall her back, and that pup will just naturally learn from her. Okay, you know, when that whistle hits, we're coming back and we're going to get some love up and we're going to get, some reward, and here we go again. And so she's a good tool.
And I think sometimes they actually perform better when they learn from other dogs. I can tell you that this little puppy that I've got, when I recall her, I'm not going to say it's 100% because it probably will turn out to not be 100%. But when I call my other dogs, I'd say 9 times out of 10 they're coming right back on the first time. Sometimes it may take two or three calls. Um, with the puppy who I haven't taught to recall, she just always came running back with the other dogs. She's going to be a 10 out of 10
Yeah,
for now, right?
for now.
I don't want to jinx it.
Don't jinx. No.
No, but like she learned from the other dogs. So, and I think sometimes when you get some of those, especially the females that can come at a point of wisdoms. I don't know how old is Zeta.
That is seven.
She said, "Oh, yeah, so she's coming in as she's in grandma territory,
She
right?"
she
So,
is.
yep. So she can 100% say, "Hey, young buck, young lady, follow me," right? My what dog that I was starting, I hunted up in the Upper Peninsula just a few weeks ago, had the luxury, the fortune of following an older female small Munsterlander around, and you can't convince me that she didn't take that dog into his first wild bird and I mean say, "Hey, buddy, it's right there. Go point it," and in
Yeah,
some sort of dog way to communicate that. And I've had people say, "There's no way she did that," and I said, "Yeah, I don't know. I watched it, so I'm pretty sure that's what happened."
absolutely. And it's funny because I have to get on to Derry because he'll get so complacent and he'll get stuck with using his same crew that he always uses, when he's hunting. And I have to remind him, hey, we've got these 2.5-year-olds here, 3-year-olds that need to go. And he
Hmm.
said, yeah, but she's just not quite there. I'm like, but you have to remember, every time when you take one, you put it out with that other dog, and they build their confidence and all, and he'll come back and he'll be like, well, so and so did so good today. I'm like, yeah, okay, and so it's just that as a trainer, I mean, as a quail guide, it's a show, so you're performing, and you don't want anything to mess up your performance to a degree,
Sure, sure.
right? And so it's where you have to remember, okay, but I have to bring this newbie in every now and then, and give it an opportunity to succeed or fail, and 9 times out of 10 they're going to succeed if you do it the correct way. But it's that, oh, let me hold my breath and hope this doesn't, you know.
I could definitely understand the different level of pressure that he's under though with the clients. And when I
Yeah,
take my dog hunting, it's just me and my dogs, maybe one other person with
yeah,
their dogs, and nobody's judging anybody.
that's
But
right.
if you got some highfalutin plantation clients, you better perform, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I mean, but we want them to perform for everybody. It doesn't matter who you are, and safety is key too. You know,
Hmm.
it's key, and Derry's very good about addressing that. And I think it's one of the main reasons why this breed has become so popular. It eliminates that, like I said, that walk out and flush with the stick. And naturally in a commercial plantation setting, you have people that don't know, they've never hunted before, so you have to be able to be a good guide that can manage their dogs, trust your dog. Then you also have to be able to basically mentor these guys that have come in and that are wanting to experience this amazing thing for the first time and stay safe. And so I always have to remind him, that I would never want to have to bury a dog if an accident happened, but I'd much rather bury a dog than bury you.
Yeah.
And so and I think that it's just that they've become a very big integral part of safety in the woods, I think, for the quail hunters. I really do.
Now, from a safety perspective, are you guys training, stop or sit to flush, or are you letting them chase on the flush? Or
So he lets so if you have a dog on point, Derry lets his dogs work out in front of him. And once we come up and he sees a point, he'll call them back, sit them down. Hey guys, we've got birds right here. See that, everybody's on point, calls the cocker in. Everybody ready, get ready, gives them time. That's the importance of having a steady cocker. Give them time to get ready. Especially with an inexperienced hunter, and sends that cocker in. They flush. He doesn't make them sit after the flush. But our cockers, in a way, they do kind of sit, but they're watching those birds.
hmm.
Like they're knowing, and they know when they drop. And like I said, in a fast pace, you've got birds getting up everywhere. You got 3 or 4 birds hit. They're going to run out there and grab those two, and then they're going to get this one before you even know it. That's the beauty of it to me. It's kind of, I would call it a what would be the right word? When they're just set free and they're not being disobedient by any means, and they're not messing up a hunt. It's, I don't know. I can't think of the word. I don't know.
It seems like they understand the game enough to. I don't want to say they're on autopilot because there's guidance and direction,
Yeah.
but they know their job and
They
they're
know their job. That's
yeah.
the thing. They know their job. They know dairy style. They know what's expected of them. They know when to turn it around and come back. They know when the bird's gone. They know. And that's why I think it's important for plantations to um have dogs that guides spend a lot of time with in the cocker area, because if you have a dog that's just spent months in the kennel and then you come back and here you are fixing a hunt, it's going to take that dog a little while to gel back to you. Um, and I just think that's important. I think it would be a great thing that if you could let a dog go home with you as a plantation owner, if you have a string of guides, say, this is your dog. It's my dog, but it's your dog. This dog needs to bond with you. It needs to know every step you take and trust you, because that's at the end of the day, those dogs trust you as your guide, that you're guiding them, and they trust you and they want to satisfy you. And so they're coming back to you. And if you're swapping dogs and guides all the time, I think it can kind of hurt the hunt a little bit. I do.
Are there plantation specific dogs that other guides come in to, to borrow, or are all of the other guides that work at this property bringing in their own dogs?
I think it's different with every plantation. Um,
Hmm.
I would say most guides own at least one cocker.
Hmm.
Um, and then plantations have cockers that are there, but it really just depends on the plantation whether they allow that dog to go home with their guide, or that kind of thing. I think it's different for all the plantations how they do. That's just my opinion, of knowing the breed, that it would make such a better hunt for that plantation if they would, allow those dogs to be, have more time. I think two cockers on a wagon is ideal for people that don't have 21 cockers, you know.
Yeah.
Because you're not burning your dog out. You need at least two,
Yeah,
especially down here in this heat. It's hard on them. It really is. Because we can have an 80-degree day in December,
sure.
you know. So it gets really rough.
And then for the pointers that you guys are braced with, are you using your own small Munsterlanders out there, or are there it's just plantation dogs and your dogs, or
It just depends. Zeta loves to track a deer. And Zeta is my daughter Hallie's dog. She got her when she was 13. That was our deal, because we were running the other plantation and we were swamped, and she fell in love with the breed. We had some great friends that have them, and she guided us through. We met Pam through Kara Whitaker, and so Hallie basically took Zeta and trained her herself. And it's hard to take your daughter's dog on a hunt, and have that risk of something happening to it. But her heart, she flushes, she goes out here and flushes quail all day long, when Derry's training and stuff. She loves it. But her heart is deers, deer tracking. She loves that. That's her thing. She knows when it's deer season. She knows it's crazy. Now, Bodie this year will get more time on the wagon. He's got a ton of go. He's great. He's two. He's, had to mature some, that kind of thing. So really our other three are young per se. So
sure.
really this year, hopefully they should integrate more. He's planning on, integrating them more in the field. Um, because it's what they do,
Yeah.
it's what they do. And not everybody has a small Munsterlander, so it's pretty cool to.
Definitely generates conversation. You know,
Absolutely. What is
every
that?
yeah,
Yeah. Is
I get
that a cocker
that's
setter?
I
What is
haven't
that?
heard that one yet. I've heard, well,
Yeah.
that's the best looking Brittany I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I said that's because it's not a Brittany.
No.
And then I've heard some people say, what kind of setter is that?
Yeah.
It's not a setter.
No, it's
And
not.
sometimes when some people say, oh, that's a pretty Brittany, I just say, thanks,
Yeah.
and
I know.
just keep walking.
What is that? Small. What?
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
But,
But it's
so
nice to have that combination. I think it is it's two breeds that can complement each other very well, for sure.
let's dig into some more about that. And I have selfish reasons, and I think we already started talking about that. And
Yep.
they'll be betrayed by one person who listens to this podcast, or betrayed to her, because she knows exactly. She's heard this conversation many times. But so, can you dig into that a little more about how the two breeds complement each other?
Well, I always, when people call us and ask us what's the difference in the two breeds, I always describe it as a cocker is exactly everything a small Munsterlander is, except it does not point. And their jobs are very similar. Their goals are very similar as a breed, because they all have a great nose. They love to track. Um, they all can flush. They all can swim. They can pick up a pheasant. A cocker can pick up a swan. I've seen it. I mean, a huge 150 yards out. I mean, just huge. So I think they complement each other in that aspect, as you've got that dog that can point, hold that point. You can allow that small Munsterlander to flush the bird as well with the cocker, get a harder flush, or you can naturally, train it to stay still. You've got a cocker that can go in and flush, pick up any bird you want, and then you've got another dog for cleanup as well. Instead of, a lot of times it's hard to get some of these other pointing breeds to pick up the bird. That especially an English pointer, which is used a lot down here. They're not the best retrievers in the world, and so you've got, instead of one retriever on the ground, you've got two retrievers on the ground. It's more power, it's more hunting power, it's less birds lost in the woods. Um, and then the size. The size is what is an amazing thing too. Yes, you've got males that can be, this breed standard for a Munsterlander is up to 60 pounds. Um, very rarely you're going to get, you're not going to get those dogs that are at the top of that breed very often.
Right.
We always joke about ours that they're bigger dogs, but they can curl up small. So they complement each other in that way. As I can put a cocker and a Munsterlander in the same box, that same size box, when we're going hunting, because they curl up small, that kind of thing. I don't know. I just think that their personalities are a lot in the same. Um, the cocker naturally has got a lot more unleashed energy. And in the beginning, the Munsterlanders tend to chill out more, a lot faster. A 2-year-old cocker is probably equivalent to a 1-year-old Munsterlander in the chill world. It takes a cocker a little bit longer to mature and chill, versus a Munsterlander. You can get one pretty well the way you want it by about a year and a half old. The puppy's still there, but they're going to be a lot more chill in the house, on that aspect. But it all goes back to training. It all goes back to how you how you how you start that dog as well. You can, it's obedience more than anything. But yeah, they just, I think both those breeds together are great.
Now, you mentioned training. So, besides the obvious bird hunting, which is, I mean, it's not all I care about, but it's for me the only reason that I would get a dog. What are some of the other purposes that you have puppy buyers exploring a dirt road dog company cocker for?
So, we've had a lot of inquiries later about diabetic, diabetic dogs. I've got one right now that is in training to be a migraine detection dog. Um, dock diving, scent work, trying to think what else. The obvious, the deer tracking. You don't have a ton of them that do it, but they do it. Um, but the detection, I think, is probably the most popular right now as far as the questions we're getting on it. And I think it has to do with the fact that they're so small. You've got a smaller dog that can be in your home and that's can travel well. Um, and their nose is just phenomenal. And so it's a plus plus.
Sure. I mean, travels well, doesn't eat much food, can fit on your lap when you need it to, and is probably pretty happy to be there, right?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Most dogs would be, I think.
that's right. We've had one. We donated to a child one time that has autism. It's she's been the best thing for him, just a great comfort dog. Um, just, I think there's just such a versatility to them.
They're the labs of the small dog world. I think cockers are, they again just one of those breeds that just they've been finely tuned over hundreds of years to be connected with their handlers.
Absolutely. And I think not to discredit a lab by any means because those are amazing dogs.
Hmm.
Um, but we have a lot of clients that call us and say, our lab passed away. We're older, we're, retiring. We just want a dog that's a little smaller, that kind of thing. We all know a 80-pound lab. I mean, you get a 75-year-old person, they'll knock, I mean, they can hit you one wrong way and not that a cocker can't run and, knock somebody over too, but I just think it's just a more doable thing for a family that's looking for a little bit downsize, but still get all the power that a lab can do as well.
So now with your kennel, and you guys have been, I mean, you've been in the Cocker Spaniel business for a hot minute or two
In
at
it.
this point. Yeah, right. Um, so what sets you apart from the other Cocker breeders and fully recognizing that, I mean, there are in the Cocker Spaniel world, you can't just say the other Cocker breeders because it's such a broad spectrum of, you know, backyard, you know,
Yeah.
10% of a paycheck dog to, wait list for years and save up for it kind of dog.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Um, I think honestly, what sets us apart is our ability to be genuine with people, to be honest, and to look out for their best interest, and to get to know them and their needs for what they want for their household. And to be able to distinguish this is the right dog for you, this is not the right dog for you. Um, I think it's also the fact that we care about the future of the breed, um, that we've done, we've implemented a lot of things early on, with genetic health testing, with OFA, hip testing, all of that, and have, worked really hard to implement and get everyone in our kennel to that standard. We still, we're a little ways from having everyone OFA'd. And you can't do that because of age,
Hmm.
but it's one of those things that we've just worked towards, and I think that that is a big deal that some people don't understand. And so we educate. Um, the ability and the want to educate people also sets us apart. We don't mind spending an hour on the phone with you. And if you don't want to pick us as a breeder, it's okay. Um, I'll answer your questions all day long. I want you to feel good about who you're dealing with more than anything. And it's about the relationships that we have with our clients. Um, I think if you ask any of our clients, if they would buy from us again, they would say yes. We have a ton of repeats, um, second, third dogs. Um, so I think that it's just being honest and having a great program that we're proud of.
I think candor is something, another thing. You just can't put a price tag on it. And it's not always something that people want to hear in the moment when like you said before, you had that discussion this isn't going to be the right dog for you. This over here is. And it takes a lot of courage, I think, as a kennel owner, as a business owner, to have that conversation with your customer who's always right, right? No. And then the other thing that takes a lot of courage, it's hard to do. We have so many tools to screen our dogs for health reasons and things that we didn't have even 10 years ago. I mean, much
Yes,
less,
correct.
20 or 30 years ago.
Yes.
There are still plenty of breeders out there that don't do DNA testing on their dogs. And my personal unqualified opinion on it is that they're afraid of it
Yes.
because
They're afraid to know what they have or don't have. Correct.
there could very well be some holes in their swing.
Yep.
They say, well, I produce dogs that, they stay healthy for as long as they need to. They hunt well, they do all the things. Um, and then you go ahead and swab the inside of that dog's cheek, and then you find out that it's a carrier for something that with the wrong combination of bitch and stud that you end up with unhealthy puppies. So it's scary, but
Yeah,
it's
yeah, I think that goes along with being a good steward of the breed. I think
mhm.
when you are a breeder, that if you are not in it to improve the breed in every way you can, I feel like you need to maybe check what you're doing because that is what it's all about. I mean, we wouldn't feed our newborn baby Diet Coke, you know. So it goes all the way down to the food you're feeding. There are a ton of great foods out there, not discounting any of them by any means. We found the one we love and the health testing. And you also have to make up your mind as a breeder, I think, as well, when you decide to take that plunge and you say, okay, I'm going all in and this is going to be my standard and you cannot waver from it.
Nope.
Um, we have taken dogs out of our breeding program when we started doing our genetic testing, that were carriers, and we took them out of our program. They're phenomenal dogs. Luckily we didn't have any carriers that bred to carriers, and we got very lucky on that, but it's all about education and just learning, throughout the years, things that you do and don't do. And when new things arise, you have to educate yourself on them. And if you're willing to make that change, I think then you're just being responsible and doing what you should do for this breed. I would be totally irresponsible if I bred a dog that I knew had a subluxation in their hip. I had a dog,
Right.
our program that we raised for 2 years, just recently had her hips tested. Sent my vet that tested them. She says, come look at this x-ray. Here's the subluxation.
Mm,
You know, we can get it where it'll say fair. That's not okay with me. I
mm-mm.
could have bred that dog, but I'm not going to breed that dog because I know that she's got a subluxation in her hip. So she's a great dog, phenomenal, probably one of the top ones we had out of our 2-year-olds. Um, but I'm not wavering.
Right.
It's a no option for me. And so she gets spayed and gets to hunt and live her best life and go find a home that she's great at and have a great hunting home because she's a great hunting dog. And those are the things that you have to be willing to do, you know, um, and have to be willing to take out when it's proper and when it's time. And I think that's what a lot of people might not understand, the difference in a backyard kennel versus a kennel like ours. That's the difference. That all in whole is a huge difference. You're
Yep.
getting a
Absolutely. Yep. And and don't be afraid of it because the DNA testing is the results that you're going to see just because they're weird vocabulary and terms that we've never heard of in this, that, and everything. It's no different than a hips test because the results from either can disqualify your dog from a responsible breeding program. That's how I look at it.
yeah,
So.
yeah, yeah.
Well, I've had you on now, Jessica, for just over an hour, and I promised you just over an hour. So I'm going to hold myself to that. Um, I am going to ask you to close it out, though. If you can give us some closing thoughts?
Um, I would say, if you're looking for that dog, know where you're getting it from. That's the main thing. Um, Research any breed that you go to buy. Know that you're going to spend a good anywhere from 10 to 16, 17 years with a dog. It's a huge investment. It's part of your family. It's part of it's part of who you are as a person as well. So know what you're getting, and in that aspect know the health of parents of those dogs, and feel good about the person you're buying a dog from. Um, and don't be scared to ask questions. That's the main thing. No question that anyone asks is a dumb question. So, um, that's the most important thing to me, I think.
Thank you very much for that. How can people get a hold of you if they want to contact Dirt Road Dog Company to talk about Cocker Spaniels or even better, Small Munsterlanders?
We have got a website. It's dirtroaddogcompany.com. Very simple. We are on Facebook and Instagram. Same, Dirt Road Dog Company. Um, we are on TikTok a little bit. We haven't dove into that very big, but Facebook, Instagram, and our website are the best places. We don't mind a phone call. Phone is actually the best way to get me. Um, and you can put my number in the show notes, and um, we love a good text, and hey, let's schedule a call. We like to connect with people. We do. But everybody's on our website that we have, and all the good information's on there.
Awesome. Well, Jessica, thanks so much for being on the show and for being first in the shoot with the flushers. And I'm gonna try and see if I can sneak down your way sometime late winter before your season closes out.
Absolutely. We would love to have you down.
I hope you enjoyed episode number 41 of the Wool Post podcast. And if you did, please go ahead and leave a 5-star review on your podcast platform of choice. Remember to like and follow the Wool Post on social media and check us out on Patreon at patreon.com/the Wool Post. Stay steady and God bless.